Hey, Geekscape. This is Jonathan London, the founder of the Geekscape Podcast Network, and I wanted to join you guys tonight with two of my friends, maybe three. We'll see. We invited one of them who has yet to show up and join us, but I wanted to mainly talk a bit about our good friend Dustin Rubin, who's the co-host of our podcast, $2 Late Fee, and what happened this past week here in Southern California. I was just telling my friend Christian Blatt, who hosts Marvel Movie Talk here, and Dustin's co-host Zach Schaefer of $2 Late Fee, that it just feels after a week post the major fires. The fires are still burning, but the destruction in Alta Dena, the destruction in the Pacific Palisades, in a week of seeing that imagery and hearing the conversation nationally about it, the conversation globally about these I think it's a national disaster. If Los Angeles makes up 25% of California's GDP, and California is the fourth, fifth largest GDP in the world, and is a major part of the US GDP, statistically, Los Angeles is 4% of the national GDP. Don't quote me on everything, but I think there's a little wiggle room on that number, but it's very close to a 4% GDP. That is how important Los Angeles is to the nation, whether or not you're on one side of the aisle or the other. If you're an American, the tragedy in Los Angeles isn't just a national disaster, it's a national disaster. And seeing these images and how quickly this happened has put a lot of people in collective shock. This is a disaster that, we look at Katrina, we look at this year, Hurricane Helene, we look at these events, and you try and put them in the context of history, and we're still living in it. So I feel like Los Angeles, I went back to work this week, and everyone's just kind of ambling zombie style, and we really are traumatized, and it's almost like the entire city needs to have a emotional and mental hard reset, but you can't when you're still in the midst of it. We're addicted to this app that we all became very familiar with in the last week, the Watch Duty app that tells us the rate of the fires. New fires are popping up. I think we're re-traumatizing ourselves a little bit in doing it, but it's hard to turn off because the speed of which we all were in danger almost demands that you stay vigilant. To put in a little bit of context, what happens with these fires is Los Angeles, if you're not familiar with where these fires occurred, they occurred in mountainsides. And there's a lot of ridge lines. Along the ridge line, there's a lot of little canyons. And those canyons, like in North Alta Dena, North Pacific Palisades, that they're built into these ridge lines. If you have a fire, and maybe it's by the roadside, maybe it's against your house, the fire, it may not conduct enough heat by the time it's detected and put out. But if a fire happens in these ridge lines, it may be indetectable for a while, and it starts to conduct heat exponentially because it just burns. And when it's in this forest, it burns and burns and burns, and it hits a temperature that by the time the wind picks it up out of the canyon and it enters these neighborhoods, it's burning so hot that it just evaporates a lot of the things. You can wet things down, but the water is just going to evaporate. It just decimates the neighborhood. And it moves at a speed, especially with these hurricane-like winds, 60, 70 and up miles per hour. I'll tell you how fast these things moved and why the blame game of whose fault it was in the preparation and running out of water, which you can look those facts up either way you want, but 4 football fields, right? Let's go 300, 400 yards. How fast do you think you can sprint that? I like to run. I'm going to say that I can run 100 yards in 40, 45 seconds. I can run 300 yards, 400 yards in 40. I'm going to say 15 seconds for a 100-yard dash. I'm going to say 45 to 50 seconds for a 300-yard dash. It'll take me a minute to do 400 yards. That's the speed of the fire. Not only is it the speed of the fire, I'm not running that dash with smoke inhalation at a high temperature with flaming shrapnel that used to be trees and pieces of brick coming at me being blown by hurricane winds. I'm not doing it with zero visibility. That's how fast these fires moved, and they moved at a heat that you could not even contend with. So our friend Dustin Rubin, co-host of the $2 Late Fee podcast with Zach, who you're going to see here in a bit, he and his wife Erin were in their home in Alta Dena when they started having high winds, the winds that take these fires out of the canyons where they begin, and they put them into these neighborhoods once they've conducted enough heat to be lethal, and at speeds that make them inescapable. And they get warnings about the high wind and that there might be power outages. If the trees are going to fall down, they're going to take out the power lines. Those might cause some fires. They have in the past, especially here in Southern California. We had these Santa Anas every year. Dustin and Erin leave their house thinking, okay, we're going to sit out the high winds and the potential of losing our power, and we'll be back tomorrow. But in those 24 hours, the Eaton Fire that hit Alta Dena, hit the neighborhood where Dustin lived, came out of the canyon at that speed, at those temperatures, and it wiped out the entire neighborhood. Dustin finds out that his entire house, or all of his belongings, are gone. And I found this out from Diallo the next day, and I was like, we got to do something, because that's what we do here in Geekscape. We built a podcast network. I started Geekscape by myself. I just wanted to, I just wanted to talk to people. And then members of the audience, Matt Kelly, were like, I want to do a podcast too. If this guy can do it, I can do it, which is great. Maybe my awkwardness. I don't know what inspired him. He's like, hey, this guy can do it. But I loved that he started a podcast, and I love that other people started a podcast. And then we started meeting other people who started podcasts. And in 2021, 2022, I'll have Zach maybe fact check that one on me when he comes on. I met Zach and Dustin because I wanted to add their podcast to the network. I don't think they knew that. I think they wanted to meet and maybe talk about collaborating. And I was just like, hey, why aren't you guys a Geekscape show? And I met Zach and Dustin for coffee. We talked about what we could do together. And then I just said, hey, join the network, dude. Let me handle all the storage fees and the hosting fees and the bandwidth fees. And you guys just join the network. I want you guys on the network. I think you guys are funny. I think you guys are cool. I think you have a cool show. Turtle from North Shore. Let's do this. and sure enough, they joined the show, and they've been really close friends. It feels like I know these guys 10, 15 years. So of course, when this happened to Dustin, it's like it happened to a member of the family or a friend that I went to grade school with. I'm well past grade school, so that's a very long time. When this happened, the immediate instinct is we got to do something. And we set up geekscapegives.com, which is what we do to point the Geekscape audience, the Geekscape family, at various charities. And that's what we're doing tonight. So tonight, I want to talk to Zach. I want to talk to my friend Christian, who does Marvel Movie Talk, and Christian's a better host than I. So he's here to keep me in. Christian's like my the bumpers they put in when you go bowling and you're not that good. That's what I got Christian around for. He's my bowling bumpers for hosting. And we're going to hopefully raise some money for Dustin and his wife, Erin, and their 2 dogs. But if you go to geekscapegives.com, it'll forward you over to their GoFundMe. I think I have to be careful with my language because I heard that FEMA and their stuff. Zach's shaking his head. But let me bring in Zach. Let me bring in Christian. And let's talk about our friend Dustin, his wife, Erin, their 2 dogs. And let's raise some awareness for the victims of the Eaton Fire, the Pacific Palisades Fire, these Southern California disasters that I just explained to you. It's a national disaster. It's a big deal. So Zach, come on in here. How are you, man? It's a tough question right now, huh?
Yeah, but it's a natural question to ask. That's what everyone's saying. How are you? And I say, well, I'm doing okay. Doing okay.
Yeah. And because I just ran at the mouth for too long, I think it's overdue that I bring in Mr. Christian Blatt.
Yeah, I have already lobbied a complaint for being on a show for 9 minutes where I didn't get to speak once, and I don't know who I'm actually going to take this up with, but I feel like it's the Better Business Bureau, because I feel like this is something that they should be focused on, because people tuned in to see me somewhere within the first 9 minutes. Although the one guy who was in the chat from my channel seems to have already left. So,
well, the other person that's in the chat from your channel is you.
Yes. Yeah. There's 2 of us. Yeah.
So we have 5 comments. 3 of them are yours.
Yep. Yeah.
And Christian, you just like buff your own numbers. I think is a little racket you're running over there with the Blatt cast.
Oh yeah. No. I every device in my house watches every stream that I do.
That's how he gets his numbers up. That's how he gets his numbers up.
I super chat myself, so it looks like I'm more successful than I actually am. But it's a business.
Who are you trying to impress, Christian?
Me.
I'm really trying to impress Zach. I need him. Zach actually did a 2-part episode of my podcast, The Blackcast, last year, where we went through all the movies we had seen in 2023. And you're still upset about the Iron Claw not getting acknowledged by the Academy, aren't you?
Not as much as I was back then.
But you were really upset back then.
I was, because I watched the movie like 4 times in a row. I saw it with Dustin.
Movie.
I saw it with Paul, Jonathan's brother.
Yeah, my brother Paul hosts a show with you.
Territory Marks.
Territory Marks. Yeah, the wrestling show.
This Geekscape community that we're a part of has been. I think you asked me to fact check you. I think it was 2021. I think we're just coming out of the pandemic. By the way, I think what the Watch Duty app is now the new Zoom. So everything in the pandemic era was Zoom. Now the Watch. But do you know Watch Duty app? That's the thing to go to now. Everyone to the Watch Duty app instead of being on knowing about Zoom. Anyways, it started out $2 late fee. And then as the years rolled on, Territory Marks came into the fold. The wrestling show I do with Paul, and then 80s Kids Unite is the newest one. That was kind of Dustin and Corey Stevenson from Podcasting After Dark, and Diallo from TV Obscura and all the other things. We all kind of came up with it together, and we said, let's do this. And, all that nostalgia stuff is all on the Geekscape network. So we're part of the family. I love it.
When I was growing up, I think a lot of kids have this dream when they have friends and family. They're like, well, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to have a neighborhood where all my friends live in the same neighborhood. And I'm going to see all my friends and everybody I love every day. And sadly, that's just not the reality. But it's your reality when you're like 3 years old, right? 4, 5, 6 years old, 18 years old and going off to college, whatever. As long as you hold on to that dream. This is me holding on to that dream. It's like I look at the Geekscape roster and I'm like, okay, cool. I've built a little place with Matt Kelly and with you guys where everybody can kind of live in the same neighborhood and we can hear each other and see each other every day. And although I keep myself restrained as the least talented member of the Geekscape family to just one show, I love that each of you guys have 19 of them. And you know what? You guys can have as many as you want. Zach, I don't know the story of how you met Dustin. And guys, Dustin's still alive.
Yeah,
his house was burned down.
So I mean, Jonathan gave a really succinct, accurate depiction of what's going on down here. Succinct, maybe not.
Maybe not to Christian standards.
Long-winded. No.
No, you just should have brought me in at the 4th minute. You could have kept talking. I just needed to be there.
I think everybody who's not in the Los Angeles area, and a lot of my family is not, and friends. So their grasp of concept of what's going on here has only been on news and social media, like the posts we put out basically. Right. But yes, Dustin and his wife, Erin, and their 2 dogs are safe and sound. They're actually 3 doors down, to quote Diallo the other day, throw in your favorite 3 Doors Down song, Here Without You, Baby.
Do people know multiple 3 Doors Down songs?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Just make sure you don't confuse them with Third Eye Blind, though, because that seems like it'd be kind of easy to do 3 Doors Down.
Oh no!
Well,
I was this days old when I realized they were the different bands. Thank you for that.
There's Kryptonite. There's If I Could Be Like That, I Would Be Anything.
I do know that one, but
from American Pie soundtrack.
Not to be confused with Pocket Full of Kryptonite by the Great Spin Doctors. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't confuse the Spin Doctors with any other band. I love the Spin Doctors, but to keep this from becoming an even wider conversation, not to make it about race, here's Diallo.
Wow.
Diallo, save us from this Caucasianality of the conversation about 3 Doors Down versus whatever the heck that. What's the other band?
Third Eye Blind. And Spin Doctors. Come on.
We're putting together. Do not put the Spin Doctors in that category with those other 2.
Look, we're putting together a great summer tour, Jonathan. All 3 of those bands. Who else do we need? Diallo, who should be on that bill with us? Jump in.
Jumper is a great song by Third Eye Blind. Wish you would step out from that ledge, my friend.
Okay, listen. Diallo was a little late to the conversation, and Diallo, is your microphone on?
Oh,
this is exactly what I told you about
we're
Christian. I
talking
was like,
about-
I told everybody to be here 50 minutes.
I was just like, don't worry about it.
And he's like, don't worry, Diallo will jump in when Diallo jumps in. I was like, okay, let's see what happens when he do.
Diallo's not me. It's going to be fine. Everything is going to be working.
Diallo, let us know in your audios.
Yeah, let us know.
He was here to save this conversation.
I was just about to tell the story about how Dustin and I met.
Yeah, yes. Let's hear that.
I want to hear that.
Okay, so flash back to 10 years ago, and I was brand new dad, just like Jonathan is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was exploring voice acting and was a teacher up until that point. Had a wonderful former student and parent in a friend of mine named Brielle. And I said to Brielle, I said, do you know anybody that maybe could point me in the direction of voice acting? And she goes, I got a great friend actually that could do that. His her husband is a voice actor. I'll introduce you. Next thing you know, Dustin and I are going to Jinkies in Sherman Oaks on Ventura. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with Jinkies, it is a landmark restaurant, diner.
There's two of them.
There's two of them, but this one is definitely the best one.
Okay, so there's two. Okay, no, I don't mean to like dilute the landmark importance of Jinkies.
This one is, I think, in particular special because all the Hanna-Barbera artists used to go to it, and they that's why But anyways, we spent a couple hours having breakfast and talking about 80s movies and 80s soundtracks specifically. And I'm like, were we separated at birth? Like, how do you know about the movie The Wraith? How do you know about the song from Just One of the Guys? Like all these very obscure 80s references, right? And so around that same time, my buddy Corey from Podcasting After Dark said, I want to do this podcast thing. I want to start this podcast where I break down movies scene by scene. I'm like, that sounds great. I'll do it with you. And a couple of years later, we did it. And I said, I love doing this, but I want to do something that is like more 80s nostalgic, just broader.
Mm-hmm.
So just 80s. And I pitched it to Dustin. I said, do you want to do an 80s? Do you want to do a 80s movie podcast where we focus on soundtracks? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And the rest is history. 5 years later, you know, he just announced in December that he was going to be taking a break from $2 late fee.
Yeah. Which I immediately joked, it's now $1 late fee.
Yeah. Hey, it doesn't sound good.
It does sound good, but like,
the more you think about you're not supposed to think about it. You know what, Jonathan?
Christian's already who's going to replace Dustin, either Christian or Matt Kelly, because they're both sitting there with they're like cartoon wolves in a Hanna-Barbera cartoon with the knives and fork.
It's become a little bit of like Regis Kathy Lee, where I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have celebrity guests come in.
My gosh, so you're gonna do a week with Anderson Cooper and a week with Seth Meyers? That's gonna be great.
Pretty much. No, we're the month of January is like our off month, and then we kick into season 6 in February. I'm putting those pieces together as we speak. Obviously, with everything going on, it's been a little scattered, but Dustin he's one of my closest, dearest friends, and his wife Erin is equally on that same playing field. And they got 2 dogs, Elliot and Gus, that are simply adorable. And, I love them so much. And like you said, I don't know if you said it, Jonathan, but that idea of having your friends on the block, and you get to hang out. Like I view my friends as my family. My Diallo up in the corner, whatever box he's in, he's my brother too. So
the box without a working microphone at the moment.
I told my son Thursday or Friday night, once the things were getting a little bit better here in Santa Monica specifically, that's where I'm at. I said, we're in a better position and we're safe. And this is now the time when we can help our friends.
Sure.
And when everything went down with Dustin and Erin, I was in the same boat you were. I'm like, what can we do? His sister Marielle quickly put together a GoFundMe, which I think your Geekscape gives directs people to.
It does.
And we were just like, let's do this. What's going on with everybody down here in Los Angeles is horrible. And if you can help out one person, that's one less person that is suffering, So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Saturday, we gathered some things to take to charity. The Marshall Theater, Gary Marshall's theater in Studio City is near us, and I'd noticed that they were collecting donations. And Heidi and I were like, okay, we're overstuffed between like bringing in all the baby stuff and just we're trying to make room. We'd already been collecting donations and things, and so we gathered and organized all that stuff. And then, Heidi did most of it. Let's be clear. I can't take that, but Heidi did most of it. Yeah, I know. And I took it to the car, and
you're the muscle, she's the brains.
And I drove down. We drove that stuff over the Marshall Theater, and I walk in, and another Geekscape host is in there volunteering.
No way.
I walk into the theater to donate the goods, and there's your co-host right there. Christian,
the great Eric Connor of,
and I've known Eric for
both
years.
Shows that I do for this network, Marvel Movie Talk and the Geekscape Book Club. He's
wow.
in both those shows with me.
I walk into the Gary Marshall Theater and I'm trying to like find a place. There's just so many donations coming. I'm trying to find a place to put this stuff, and I'm saying, hey, this is specifically newborn baby stuff that you guys have been asking. A lot of places said we need baby stuff. Right. And I said, where do you want me to put it? Because they're trying to keep this organization like on point because so much stuff is coming in. Really, we've seen LA come together in a big way. And I look up, and there's Eric Connor just directing traffic and coming over. We took a quick photo, and I was like, wow, this, I'm just glad the neighborhood we put together of all our friends and family are good people. And it's nothing more evident than in something like this happening. And there's Eric Connor, another Geekscapist, and he's thinking the exact same thing. It's like, how can we help people? And that's the kind of network I want to build. That's the kind of community that we want to be a part of, right? Like, how can we help Diallo figure out his microphone? It's like the big thing right now. Diallo's just looking at it. It's like, I don't know what to do. So restart your computer or something, or you come back or something, man.
This is a time when the bat signal would really come in handy, and he's got one behind him, and he's not turning it on.
Yeah.
But every time, by the way, every time you say, when you were talking about Eric, that's the thing about Los Angeles that maybe people that don't live in this area don't understand. Of the 7 or 8 million people that live here, you're always running into someone and for me specifically, 99% of that time, it's someone I actually want to see, versus my hometown where 99% of the time I wouldn't want to see anybody.
It's all the people you're like, okay, that's the reason I moved away. That's the reason I moved away.
Yeah.
The worst was like before I met my wife and I would go home for the holidays, be there at Christmas time, and you go to that bar where everybody was, and you're like, oh my God, it's one place with all the people I'm glad I don't talk to anymore. And one other person that I do like, but then all the rest. Yeah. So.
Where'd you grow up, Christian?
I grew up in a beautiful little village called Greenwood Lake, New York. It is.
How big is it?
The lake itself is 9 miles, but the town has about 3,000 people in it. The metric I usually use is my high school graduating class was 63 people, and that's 2 towns put together. But mine was the big town. There were 4 people from the other town. There were 59 from my town, and So it was an old resort town, but when people started fleeing New York City, that's where they moved out to. So my school was populated with a lot of pretend tough guys whose families moved them out of New York City because they were getting their ass kicked every day.
You don't hold a grudge towards those people who tormented you through your youth.
Not at all. I could first and last name check 10 people that I probably still hate. But I won't. I will not.
Do you, Christian, do you spend as much time on your show talking about your childhood traumas that I do on $2?
No, I actually don't talk about it that often. I like to celebrate my present day successes. I want to circle back to something though, Zach. What do you think is the greatest 80s movie soundtrack, and why are you going to try to convince me it's not Transformers the movie?
Well, because Transformers the movie has a couple songs on there that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah,
I don't
Do
think
not
the
say
song,
"Dare to be Stupid," or Matt Kelly will kick you off the. He will kick you off the
No.
network.
Matt Kelly will wake up,
Matt Kelly
log
will
in,
kill
and kick you off. Yes.
He will be like, "Stop it."
I mean, my all-time personal favorite soundtrack is The Wraith, because it's got Stan Bush on it. It's got Hollywood Suite. It's got Lamarca. It's got these great like bands you've never heard of, but the minute you hear this song, you're like, I want to play this over and over and over again.
Yeah,
that's the soundtrack you want in your car. That there's so many soundtracks.
If your car is a ghost car, like the Wraith,
it's a Dodge Daytona.
A Doge. Okay.
No, sorry, it's a Doge Daytona.
Yes, thank you.
That's a callback to earlier tonight.
Call back to an off.
Before we were
off air thing.
Those are the best callbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, look, The Wraith is one of those. It's a soundtrack and a movie that is kind of an anomaly. Like you're like, how did this movie ever come out? And why this soundtrack shouldn't be good, but it is. I think it was produced by the Scotti brothers, and apparently the Scotti brothers, who did like the Rocky soundtracks and the Eddie and the Cruisers.
To bring it back to Matt Kelly, Weird Al was on Scotti Brothers Records. That's where he had his first record deal.
But Transformers the movie has 2 Stan Bush songs. Why does that not immediately make it a number 1? And I'll tell you this: when I went to see Michael Bay's Transformer at the ArcLight, Stan Bush had a pop-up table, like a card table out front, and he was selling his most recent CD.
How many did you buy? Yeah, how many did you buy?
I bought it, and I took a picture with Stan Bush. This is 2006, and it was pretty depressing. I mean, Stan's the man, but holy crap, he had come to not the premiere, but he had come to the opening weekend of Michael Bay's Transformers movie, and Stan Bush had brought like a card table and like a drape, and he was selling his CDs, of which the most recent CD that nobody, it's not going to get radio this time. But he had done, knowing that Michael Bay had a new Transformers movie coming out, he had done a revamp of The Touch, and it's just not the same, And
it's not. And
I love Stan Bush.
Here's my issue with the Transformers the movie soundtrack, and I did have to think about it for a moment. I'm not a big fan of when soundtracks are out of order to the way they play in the movie. So when I listen to a soundtrack,
I can support that.
It has to be its own thing, though. You're not going to just play the movie when you're playing around. It's got to be its own thing. It has to work as an album, and I'm going to fight. I'll push back on that.
Go ahead.
But it's not an 80s soundtrack. But I actually think the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack is a strong, overlooked soundtrack.
It is, but that's 1992.
It is. It's not an 80s soundtrack.
It's not as good as the Clueless soundtrack, but it's all right.
So
that has a Muff song on it. The Clueless soundtrack's fantastic.
Listen to this really quick. So not only does the Wraith have those artists I mentioned, but it also has a guy named Tim Feehan. If you don't know who he is, he's amazing. But Ozzy Osbourne, I believe, Motley Crue, also has Billy Idol. So, and like I said, that Stan Bush song, the name of the song he has is Heart versus Head. And I think we know what that means.
You guys understand why I had to have Zach and Dustin on the Geekscape network, right? Because Geekscape, I think Geekscape, my own show, like we do movies, video games, comic books, we do everything in pop culture. I just like talking to people in pop culture and storytellers. But in doing so, I'm doing a little bit of movies, doing a little bit of TV, doing this, and I'm a mile wide, but like an inch deep. Like I can't do this shit right here. This guy, is a rabbit hole in and of himself. Like this is like, Jesus Christ, dude, where do you store this information?
I think Diallo can back me up on this. Dustin is one of those guys that kind of reels me in, like mentally. Like I'll just start going off on a tangent, and he
clearly
reel me in. So wait till season 6 drops. And
the legs.
Yeah. Yep.
Diallo's with us now, and Diallo was having some mic issues. Guys, we've all, I don't know about Christian, but we've all spoken to Dustin in the last 2-3 days to wish him best of luck. I just want to tell you guys, I reached out to Dustin after a day or two. I thought it was appropriate enough to reach out to him. In fact, I think he actually heard that we were going to do this stream, and I recorded an ad for the charity and this and that. And Dustin just wrote me. I was like, dude, thank you so much. Like, it really is wonderful what you're doing. And I just wanted to check on him and send him a couple links. Yeah. And so,
3 doors down.
3 doors down.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So let me see what he wrote. He said, I said, hey man, you okay with everything? And he says, yeah, I liked your ad. We were both, Zach and I were like, me and Erin were very moved. But I can't thank you enough. I'm currently vacillating between moments of zoning out while staring at socks at Target, weeping in the bosom of my mechanic, and having calls where instead of canceling, the internet company is trying to offer me future promotional deals at a home that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. I can give you socks. You just definitely want to wash them first. And he laughed and then said, the good news is the power company just called and can send a crew over to my house to restore power.
Yeah.
It's terrible. They don't read the news. They're just like, hey, how can we start charging that guy again?
Right.
That dude had just lost everything.
Gotta get that.
He said, I'm glad I was able to finally cancel Spectrum because every 3 hours they kept saying I'd have high-speed internet back up soon. And as a big Clipper fan, I asked him, I said, but did you cancel your Clippers Vision, which is the new streaming service the Clippers gave out started today? And he goes, no, Steve Ballmer said I have to keep that one. So he cares about it.
Look, the Intuit Dome isn't going to pay for itself, even with the naming of Intuit.
Dustin's a true fan. Even without a house, he has not canceled his Clipper Vision. I think James Harden has to give him a signed jersey for that or something.
By the way, can we?
Chris Dunn jersey.
I just wanted to quickly acknowledge the celebrity popping in the chat, the great Eric Nagel from It's Eric Nagel. He does shout out the Josie and the Pussycat soundtrack. I think if E-Rock was just in there hanging out, I probably wouldn't put the comment on the screen. However, I feel like that's a very divisive pick because any soundtrack album that has a picture of Tara Reid on the front may or may not be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Diallo, how did you meet Dustin? Not the AA.
I just have
that you're watching.
I have to throw in my soundtracks.
Okay.
And it's not geeky at all, but it's like Waiting to Exhale soundtrack and Boomerang, Pulp Fiction.
You just get one,
and
sir.
Rocky.
You get one, sir. You get one.
No, you can fill a 5 CD chain. It's fine, Diallo.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know if you've been paying attention lately, but nothing matters anymore. So here's a disappointing thing about Rocky IV to me is Heidi had never seen a Rocky movie, so of course we watched the first Rocky movie, and then of course we had to watch all the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
I remember Rocky IV more fondly than when I rewatched it. It is a series of music videos, and I wish it was more. Yeah, for the fact that MTV isn't around anymore, you can just watch
90-minute montage. It's a 90-minute montage.
Yeah, and in doing so, Rocky V got better.
No.
Yes, on the tail end of Rocky IV, if you watch that movie, Rocky V gets better.
Shut this thing off.
You should end it.
Because he has a robot maid.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I think it's awesome. But the robot maid goes homeless in the fifth one when Polly cost them all their money. Heidi just jumped in.
By the way, the Rocky IV soundtrack on Scotty Brothers Records.
Ding that bad boy.
I just looked it up because on my podcast, the Blackcast, I talked to Jim Peterick, who wrote Burning Heart, but also wrote Eye of the Tiger. And,
oh my God, he's a genius.
Yeah. And he has that song from the 70s called Ignition, which is not to be confused with a different song called Ignition that we can't play anymore. This is one that's still okay. But just the idea of like, oh, I have like, the the greatest soundtrack song of all time in Rocky 3. And I'll just follow it up with Burning Heart. And I think Zach and I are, and I don't want to speak for Diallo, I think we have very different opinions of Rocky 4 than Jonathan. It's East versus West, and at a time when that still mattered, you know.
Yeah. I mean, look,
yeah,
Rocky.
it's
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's my favorite Rocky movie. Like,
whoa!
So like somebody, someone said there's this 3, and I won't argue anything. I won't argue any of them except for 5.
Was it Hulk Hogan?
Like, if you say 2's your favorite, that's cool. You say 1's your favorite, that's cool. Like, whatever.
Not
I just
5.
happen to like 4 better.
It won't be 5.
But
it won't be 5. But 5 had more story. And that relationship with his son, knowing that his son then died, like that carried pretty heavy with me. Like knowing how his son, Stallone's son, actually died, and then Sage played the role of his son in the movie, and they had related. I mean, 5 is about his relationship with his son. And that was big for me when I watched it, especially because 4, as awesome as 4 is, and stylistic, and has all the best lines. And it's like, come on, man, this is a charity match and all that, or whatever. He's like, I love that stuff. But then there is so much music video in that movie that I'm like, all right, let's get some more story back in here. And so I really like 5. 5 is overlooked. It's not my favorite. But 5 is overlooked in that relationship with the son, which he then explores again and like over the top. It's a big theme for him, man.
It is. It's always been a theme.
Says something.
I will say though that the one that came after 5, I think, is the one with the infamous speech that he gives.
Rocky or Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa.
Yeah. The one with,
I love that. Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah, and
who lost his house as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is crazy because in This Is Us, his character dies in a house fire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And now that I mean, these guys a lot of Geekscape friends, not just Dustin, but Chris Strompoulos, my friend Chris Strompoulos, has been on Geekscape many times. Chris is semi-famous for having, as a kid in grade school, he and his friends remade Raiders of the Lost Ark shot for shot. You heard the story, right? Yeah. So Chris, his friend Eric Zala, they as kids over summers would remake shots from Raiders of the Lost Ark. They did everything but the flying wing scene, which they then had to do as adults, and they came on Geekscape to crowdfund for the flying wing sequence back in 2010, 2011. But Chris and I have been reconnecting in the last 2-3 years because he's like, I live in Alta Dena. He goes to the same Starbucks I do because he works at the university that's right next to it. So I randomly would see him at Starbucks, and he walked me through like all my my fatherhood nerves, my young fatherhood nerves. So I'd see Chris almost on a bi-weekly basis, and he'd be like, how are you holding up, man? Okay, so like, listen, you just gotta you're doing a great job. You just don't think, the things that I wanted to turn to Zach Schaefer for, who wasn't there for me. Chris Strompoulos was. Another person.
Hey, my wife made a spreadsheet. I could have given it to you. I should have given it to you.
You know I had a kid, right? And you had the spreadsheet the whole time.
About it. I think I might have I'll still send it to you. Guess what?
Rumors.
You're in it for the rest of your life, pal.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I really quickly though, and I know
Heidi's saying hi real quick.
Oh, there's Heidi.
Yeah.
Hi, Heidi.
My bad, I have.
So I had Vince DeCole. We had Dustin and I on $2 late fee have had a plethora of amazing guests. We've had, including Diallo came on for our Red Dawn discussion back in the day, when we were in the pandemic. So that was really weird.
That was that was a dark day.
It was a dark day, but we had Vince DeCola on the show.
Start of the pandemic.
It was, yeah. Vince DeCola came on our show, not once, but twice. Vince DeCola, who did the soundtrack to Rocky IV, the score.
You don't have to explain who Vince DeCola is.
Well, I think we should.
Or anybody listening to these programs on Geekscape.
Well, you said Transformers the movie. He also did the score for Transformers the movie.
I don't think it's a Transformers movie without Vince DeCola somewhere on the soundtrack, unless it's Transformers 1, the best movie of 2024. Continue.
Wow. So anyways, that Vince DeCola is the reason why that music, it's not just the Scotti brothers, Burning Heart with, John Cafferty or Survivor, you know, like all those bands that are on there. But that score makes it phenomenal. And I think we've all worked out to the Rocky IV soundtrack at some point.
Yeah, not often. Working out, that is. But
well,
yeah.
Jonathan. Do some push-ups. That's what you need to do.
Listeners, we're all on StreamYard, and we all have practical, like, real backgrounds except Christian. Mine is my living room. I think Zach is his man cave. We got Diallo in the back cave with Voltron over. Christian Blatt has an image of a real room, but it is a picture of it, and it's a spinner rack, which I think is great. But the picture makes the spinner rack so big that he looks tiny. he looks like he could climb the spinner rack like King Kong climbing the Empire State Building.
Incredible shrinking man.
He's like, and so every time I look at a picture of Christian, I was like, it almost looks real, but it's a picture of a spinner rack.
It's more about the very clear VHS set of the Star Wars trilogy that is on the right of your screen.
But it's a special edition. Which is not the good one.
No. It is pre-special edition.
Those are
when they
remastered.
remastered.
That's the reissue.
It's when they cleaned it up. It's when they cleaned it up. It's not with the giant CBS Fox logo on it and the posters.
If you don't have the shaky blue screen boxes surrounding your TIE fighters as they fly around, I don't want it. I don't want it. I think the great thing about A New Hope, which wasn't even called New Hope on my box, it still says Star Wars on my VHS box, you got to have the shaky blue screen blocks that they didn't fully erase.
That move with the TIE fighters.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
They kind of shudder with the TIE fighters. That's the good stuff right there.
I just want to shout out the fact, though, that Christian could have done any background that he wanted, but he chose one that's like 80s nostalgic. And I just love that, man. So I take that, not to like put anything. I feel like that's his way of subtly saying, you know, giving love to Dustin and saying, you know, we're here for you.
Was that your original background, Christian?
No, you didn't. I had one from a different stream that I forgot that I was using. I have quite a few of them, to tell you the truth. You know that
you don't need
some of them don't look like anything. You know,
it's a living room.
I use this one a lot. I use the front of NRC Studios. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I make sure that I have Watu the Watcher over my shoulder.
He knows we're here.
And nice. Of course, the Star Wars Christmas special, little Boba Fett there. I loved this one when we were doing X-Men 97, the fake VHS box logo that they did. And sometimes, for Matt Kelly, we can hang out with Statler and Waldorf.
So into the mic, sir, please. This isn't a live con.
No, I was trying to show off Statler and Waldorf. It's all right.
Yeah, we're trying to raise money for Dustin. Hey, Geekscape or anybody listening, if you're still with us, www.geekscapegives.com. It'll send you to the GoFundMe for Dustin and Erin, and that's really why we're here. We're having fun. There's a lot of ballyhoo going on, but we have a very serious reason for being here. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I was going to bring it back to a serious moment for a second and just say, you know, my son Bodie and I were at the grocery store this past weekend getting groceries for Dustin and Erin. And Bodie goes, man, there's a lot of groceries here. I said, Bud, they literally have nothing in their fridge. Well, they don't even have a fridge, but there's zero. I said, imagine opening up the fridge at home and not even like seeing a bottle of ketchup in there, just nothing.
And then the fridge disappears because the fridge wasn't even there. Right. They lost the fridge too.
I mean, the concept of like explaining it to a child versus an adult, you know, is always, you got to frame it a certain way, right? You guys
just ask him to remove his shoes in the store and walk barefoot. Like,
I mean, that's
just like, Bodie, you now have no shoes. Give them to me. Give them to me. If you're gonna be like that, Bodie, give me the shoes.
I hope that Bodie,
where are these 2 bread loaves we just stole?
I hope that Bodie said, as long as Harrison Ford isn't inside that fridge, everything's gonna be fine.
No, he opened up the fridge and Alien. No, Zool came out.
Not an alien.
Zool came out. The gate, and Bodie. Next thing you know, Bodie's been running around saying he's the key master for some reason. I don't understand.
It happens.
No, but
it happens.
But I will say, Erin and Dustin are unlimitedly selfless. I've seen it in action, And Dustin, Dustin does a lot of like voiceover coaching sessions. And oftentimes he's like, well, I'm not going to charge you for that. I'm like, you have a golden throat. You have a professional business that you do. And you're, giving advice to people left and right on how to hone their craft when you should be charging them for that practically. I know he does do that as well, but still, like, he's an open source for advice when it comes to support. And, the two of them are just so giving. And, you're going to hear thousands of those stories over the next several months with all the people living in Los Angeles who've been affected by the fires. But obviously this is personal for us because he's our family. And so everything people have done up until this point has mattered so much. Even sharing the website, like if people just want to share the geekscapegives.com on their social medias, like that would be wonderful. So anything.
Yeah. What does Dustin want to like? What does he like to eat?
I know
you went to
he
the
loves
grocery store to buy
micheladas.
food.
He loves those micheladas.
Does he really? There's a little bit of Latino in him, huh?
He does. And think about his Clipper gear. His Clipper gear is gone. His autographed Michael McDonald book gone.
The Clippers gear, that's for the best. It's time for him to hard reset and pick a different team.
Wow. But like we were talking about this offline.
Spurs are right there, Dustin.
I know these things don't matter in the broad scheme of things, but like, autographed photos from Barry Bostwick from a show called Young Guy Christian.
Let's be clear. You guys could get a new autograph photo from Barry Bostwick like right now.
But is it going to be a photo?
You're friends with him.
Yeah,
you're friends with that guy.
We are. That's true. So
like, you just be like, oh, Andre Gower from Monster Squad. Call him. Get the autograph photo. Do it. Answer the question though. What else does he like to eat? Did he give you a grocery list, or did you guys like, hey, you need some groceries? Let me just go and pick.
Well, no, I told him, I said, if you don't tell me, because he's the type of person, he and Erin both.
It's all good.
They're like, no, it's all good. I'm like, if you don't tell me what you want, I'm gonna fill your fridge with Skippy peanut butter and Wonder Kids bread. Like it's gonna just be filled.
It's Pez, cherry Pez. If I could eat one thing for the rest of my life, what movie? What movie?
Stand By Me.
Cherry Pez.
Yeah.
Do you have a Dustin story for us? He's shaking your head.
Yeah, I do. Dustin is kind of stealth, like Zach talked about it a little bit, but Dustin's kind of stealthily one of the most giving people like that I've ever met. And it's like in his day-to-day, it doesn't he doesn't necessarily like exude that, but he steps up in a way that like no one else will step up for, like, and he will go above and beyond, and he doesn't ask anything of you in return. So when I was doing the Angel in the Dark motion comic, I had like gotten all this animation done, and I had gotten all this, gotten all the music done, and I had everything done, and this wasn't really my first time doing any of this, and I was like, oh, I need voice actors. And I didn't really know where I had my cast list or whatever. I didn't really know where to get voice actors. I don't really, I know a couple. I know one. I'm looking at them, but everybody else. And so Dustin he was on it. Like he got me people from across the world to fill out voices
literally
for this. And he just like, I don't know, like literally from across the world. He
this could have been American Jobs.
He did one of the
is that what this is going on here? I'm kidding.
The H-1B visa.
Is that what's going on here? Offload to American Jobs.
Yeah. But yeah, he did one of the voices for a character, and like I didn't direct him well enough the first time, and he was more than gracious to completely do it over again. And just, I don't know, like I just remember like I was almost like that this would not have been able to be finished if it wasn't for him. Like stepping up, taking over, and just like filling in all the little gaps of things that I didn't even know that I needed, you know? So, and I see him do that with other people, just even some of the people that I spoke with, like, you know, he was like mentoring some or helping some, and he just, I don't know, there's this genuine giving quality to him that, you know, it's deep in his heart, it comes out. And so, you know, and it's strangely ironic that he's in this situation now, where, you know, he needs all of us to step up for him in the way that he like does for other people without even batting an eye. So
right.
Yeah, that's my Dustin story, you know. And then he and I, we talk, you know, basketball and football sometimes, you know, but for the most part, it's just good times.
The look in Jonathan's eyes says the Clippers aren't really basketball, but he's probably too polite to actually say it.
Fine.
I can see it in his eyes.
I can't argue anything.
Ask.
As a Utah Jazz fan for my life, I can't argue anything. They're one of the more winning franchises in the NBA, but they don't win the big thing. They just win a lot of things
in the 90s,
except the big thing.
But the worst named team in the NBA, because when I think of Utah, you know what I think of? Jazz. And I know the New Orleans team moved there, but it is one of those times where you could have gone for a new name.
Yeah, I think before the Raptors were the Raptors, they should. There's a Utah Raptor they found the skeleton of, or they found a Utah Raptor.
Why don't they just call them the Utah Mormons? Why?
It's like when I went to school at Penn, the mascot was the Fighting Quakers, and Quakers aren't even supposed to curse, and I'm like, no, it's not a very tough team. But
I don't know,
but Benjamin Franklin is the mascot.
Really?
The guy on the oatmeal box looks pretty pissed. I feel like that Quaker probably does fight.
Yeah. well, Ben Franklin, I think he founded the school, so he had to kind of be the mascot.
Christian, you need to go back to your original background, because having the house in the background is really bugging me. So go back to your.
You don't. That's, excuse me. That's not just a house.
That's
the X-Men Mansion.
Professor Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
Whatever. We're talking about houses gone.
You want to talk about a house that's been annihilated at least 10 times? That house has been annihilated.
You know how many times Sentinels have leveled that house?
Yeah, there's just the like whole calendar years they're running the operation out from underneath there.
Okay, can we go back? Can we go back to the Quakers? The
Quakers
Quakers
thing?
Whole
stretch when they just lived.
That was great. The spot, right? That'll be fun.
I love the spot, but
I do too.
I'll go back to the oversized.
Thank you. I just love that. There's so much nostalgia.
No, I like it. Jonathan apparently thinks I'm larger than I am. A spinner rack does tower over me. In a moment, I'm gonna have to go read to my son. If you guys are still going after I'm done, I'll pop back in.
No.
What I want to share is legitimately. I know Dustin from running into him at LA Comic-Con, and Zach, I've had you on my show. So I don't even know him that well. I know him enough to know that he's great. I've seen the show. I saw the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes panel that you guys did. It was amazing. I loved that. I didn't even think I liked the movie. And then I saw that and I'm like, you know what? That movie is a classic. But what I did do is, on a show that I do for another network, for the network is called Who Are These Podcasts? And it's a very mean-spirited show where they take other podcasts and pull clips and show why they're bad. I do a show called Who Are These Broadcasters? So Who Are These Broadcasters isolates the different realm of broadcasting. So we have different segments that we do on my show that I co-host with a guy named Eric Zane. And we were very busy this past week because with all the fire coverage, we checked off all the different kinds of segments we did. But what I wanted to include in the show was something I was going to show anyway before the fires happened. I pulled clips from the $2 late fee interview with the great Corey Feldman. And it was amazing. And what I loved is that, tell me if I'm wrong, you guys were legitimately excited to talk to him, and you said everything you meant. You were very honest and sincere in there, right?
Oh yeah. That was for us, for that to be our last episode of the season 5 and to have him on. That was he's an 80s icon. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I would have been saying the same things you guys did, but I would have been 1000% full of shit, telling him that he's great and he's the only thing that's good in the movie.
Oh, come on, be nice.
Well,
Corey's he's a really nice dude.
Okay, so do you hope he goes back out on tour with Limp Bizkit this summer? Are we going, Jonathan?
I'm not.
We're gonna go check it out.
Listen, there's tons of musicians who are nice guys. I'm not gonna go to their concerts, but I've been to. You know what's funny is I had Sean Astin on Geekscape a couple of years ago, and Sean was like, "I'll give you 15 minutes." We ended up doing an hour plus because Sean and I just got along.
Yeah.
He then invited me to hang out at Corey's house.
Nice.
You've heard this story. You haven't heard the story?
No.
This my first wife, Laura, and I, we went to Corey Feldman's house. Our friend Leah Savoli, who was helping raise awareness for a film project that Sean Astin was involved in, she knew Corey and said, Corey's having people over at his house. There's going to be a band that plays some music. Come over, hang out. And so I went to Corey Feldman's house with my ex-wife Laura, and we went and hung out for, he's having some people over. And it just kind of felt like a little bit of like a low-key house party. Like there were snacks and drinks and stuff like that. But his home, you'd love it, Zach. It is kind of an 80s home, right down to like the intercom system from the kitchen.
Yeah.
And Corey was nothing but nice. He was very soft-spoken, super nice. We hung out there for a couple of hours, and his living room has a mantle that goes around it, and on the mantle are all in the package his different figures. Like you got the Goonies figure, you got the Lost Boys figures, you got all the figures from all his movies. There's no Dream a Little Dream. I actually love Dream a Little Dream. I think that movie's awesome.
I like it too.
Is it a 1990 movie or is it still 80s?
It's 88, I think.
Okay.
I love Dream a Little Dream. I think that movie's really well done. And I also love License to Drive. But he's just modest. So if you go to him like, hey man, I really love Dream a Little Dream, thank you. But it wouldn't be a conversation. I think he felt on the spot. At the centerpiece of his living room, all the action figures are lined up on this mantle. They lead to the centerpiece on the main wall is a black velvet painting of himself. And it's awesome.
That tracks.
There's a Corey Feldman black velvet painting in the center of his living room, and it's so cool. And so, he was gracious as a host. We went out to the pool and hung out. The band played a couple songs, and I was like, all right, cool. We've done this. I'm gonna go home now. Peace out, Corey. He went to Heidi's play because Heidi's friends with who's the kid? The dishes are done, dude. Who's that?
Yeah, Keith Coogan.
Keith Coogan's friends with Heidi's, and dude, I haven't even told you who's what's the name of Silver Spoon's
Ricky Schroeder?
No, not Ricky Schroeder. The other show,
Alfonso Ribeiro.
No, no, keep going. One of these guys.
Really, Ames?
No, it's I forget, but we went to hang out with Keith Coogan, and there were other 80s stars there,
of course.
And one of them wants to come cook dinner with Heidi, and his wife got along. And he's like, oh, Jeremy Miller. Heidi hits me up this weekend, and she goes, hey, Jeremy Miller, who lives up in Santa Clarita. I was like, how are they doing up in Santa Clarita? Because there was a little bit of fire danger there. I was like, oh, Jeremy and his wife are doing well. Jeremy wants to come in and make dinner for us. And I was like, what? Oh. And she goes, yeah, Jeremy Miller wants to come and make dinner for us and have dinner with us and stuff like that. I was like, so what is this life? But
so
Corey Feldman's cool.
Ben Seaver is going to be in your house.
Ben Seaver is going to come to my place and make dinner for us. And that is why you can't be mean, Christian.
Oh my gosh.
You never want to. You're going to be mean to Ben Seaver, and next thing you know, he's making.
I wouldn't be mean to Ben Seaver, but I would say that. What I wanted to say about Corey Feldman, I can't say the person who it was. I went to someone who's fairly well known. They had a 50th birthday party. And they had done a show where they had interviewed Corey Feldman within the past month, and he invited Corey to his 50th birthday party because he really wanted him to perform Ascension Millennium. Is the only reason he invited him. And they played Ascension Millennium. He handed him the mic. Corey was not having it. And so the host of that party sang a little, and then the crowd sang along. So it just.
And what did Corey do? Was there like
he was just he's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't think he likes that stuff, man. When I was just like, hey, dude, I love Dream a Little Dream, and he was like, cool. Let me shy out of this conversation. I was like, okay, cool, thanks.
To bring it back to Dustin, when we got Corey came on our show, for everyone that's interested, to talk about a movie called Going Viral that just came out on Amazon, and you should check it out. If you're a lover of nostalgic 80s stuff, you should check it out. But I had been wanting to get him on to talk about a movie called A Dangerous Place, which is a Karate Kid ripoff from the early 90s with an actor named Ted Jan Roberts. I think people who are fans of like Power Rangers will know who Ted Jan Roberts is, because he was on a show that was very similar to Power Rangers at one point, like Secret Sentai or something like, I don't know. Sure. Anyways, martial artist. But Corey Feldman was on that. And when we brought that up, I brought it up specifically for Dustin, because Dustin loves that movie. I do too. But I know that Dustin does. And so oftentimes when we have celebrities on our show or guests on our show, if there's a connection to Dustin in some way, I'm always wanting to bring up that particular thing to see Dustin's reaction, because I know he gets excited. Like we had Diane Franklin on. Diane Franklin is in the movie Better Off Dead. She plays the French student, and that's his favorite. That's Dustin's favorite movie. And I think I booked her back in the day because I knew that was his favorite movie. And he got to put the jacket on that she wears in the movie, which is a really big deal. And we're in the book, her tribute book to Better Off Dead. And that was
I told you I had Diane Franklin's daughter on the show because she's in that comedy duo.
Yes.
Then Diane Franklin's daughter's boyfriend is the son of the lead from Airplane.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also met because he's in Homeward Bound, and my friend Benji was in Homeward Bound, and just like Zach said at the top of the hour, you walk down a street in LA, you ran into a bunch of people you didn't know. And so I'm sitting there trying to prep for this Q&A thing at the Capitan for the Homeward Bound, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why is Stryker in here and the son? And I've had you on Geekscape, and your mom is the French girl. Oh, sorry, your mom blew up, Ricky.
So what I liked about when you had Corey on was that you just said that Dangerous Place was a ripoff of Karate Kid, but you did not say that in front of Corey. He was like, well, kind of the B movie Karate Kid. He owned up to it, but you didn't call it that. You were very polite. You guys are very gracious hosts.
Show the clip.
And do you want to see the clip of it? Because I do have them talking about A Dangerous Place.
Yeah.
Well, let me finish with I have this segment of who are these broadcasters. We watch some clips, we get some great interaction because people love seeing what Corey's up to. You can say that his Trump impression that started the interview was amazing. Some people might think otherwise. His hair really fit, but anyway, so we put it up, and then I'm like, and hey, not to be too much of a bummer, Dustin, from that clip, and I explained the whole thing, and I put up the GoFundMe. And the funniest thing that I saw in the chat, someone said, hey, can we just send the money to her? Because they were saying that she's a lovely woman, and they were impressed. So this is why I'm telling the story to you and not to Dustin.
What's his is hers. They're married.
Yeah, I just thought it was very funny, and but
somebody's out there like, hey, can I just give it to the dogs?
You know what? Yeah, I didn't know their names at the time, and I actually realized I really should have known what they were. Do you want to see Corey talking about A Dangerous Place from the show? Are you actually interested?
I'm a really big fan of a movie called A Dangerous Place that you did in the
I lived
and for those that don't know, it's like a Karate Kid, like an homage, like a tribute. It's definitely in that.
Or you just call it the B movie version of Karate Kid.
Why not?
By the way, I have to apologize because on this interface, I didn't know the clip was going to play right away.
It's fine.
But I do it.
We're going down this road. Okay. And remember, you're supposed to be the one who's like keeping me as a good host. You can't be doing this.
That's probably the best way to put it.
Were you a martial artist back in the day?
I was not, but I learned how to be for that film. I actually started on Goonies doing martial arts. We used to all go actually and take classes with Randy, who was the stunt double for John Matuszak. So he was also also played on the Raiders with John. Big, huge guy.
Wow. Awesome.
So it's really inside, but the point is that Zach, that Dustin must have been loving, like, oh my God, I'm getting to talk about this movie, which I'm not going to lie. I'd never heard of this movie. You guys actually show a clip of the movie and I'm like, okay, I can see why I never saw the movie, but I love that Dustin loves this movie so much. And you were like, why I can't let Corey go without talking about it, you know?
Nope, I had to bring it up. I had to get in my 2 cents about playing video games, and we got a really great sound clip about that in regards to Corey Haim, which I thought was really cool.
Well, he said that Corey Haim wanted to make a Space Ace movie, right?
Space Ace. He was gonna play Space Ace.
Oh my God! I was just talking about Don Bluth today. I love Space Ace. I love all that stuff.
Yeah,
Corey's favorite video games. Yeah, well, you did the interview. Why don't you talk about it?
No, Christian. Yeah, his favorite video game is Dragon's Lair. So he played
the 2 animated games. I was like, oh my God, what a great pair of answers. I'm gonna leave because I have to read to my kid and I'm late. But I'm gonna leave you with Corey's Trump impression. But you can decide if you want to watch it or not.
No, I've decided I'm actually going to go full Trump now. This is my thing. You know,
he's talking about
if you can't resist the resistance, then you might as well dive in. So I went ahead and got the Trump haircut, the Trump hair color. So from now on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm only talking like this, and you're only going to hear from me when it's going to be something really special. You know, we're going to talk about my big projects. They've got to be the biggest. Got to be the biggest. So
there's another minute of it.
His hands. No.
Yeah.
We're going to go with Going Viral. Going Viral is going to be the greatest project. We put a lot of incredible people together. You're going to be very pleased. The best people in the world, great actors.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap up this this tribute.
You guys are going to have another season of this show?
Yeah, we are.
Leafy's coming back after that one.
I just booked. I just booked our next guest for season 6. So.
Who's that? And what impersonation are they going to do that makes me rethink this relationship?
I will say. You know what? Exclusive news, because I just booked it all today. Side Out will be celebrating its 35th anniversary this year, the volleyball movie, and I'm going to be covering that movie for our season 6 opener, Side Out, with C. Thomas Howell and Peter Horton and Tiffany Amber Thiessen. And our guest that month is going to be Chris Rydell, who was in that movie along with a bunch of other movies. So
you just named like 4 actors who I'd be like, oh, that'd be awesome as a guest, and they weren't one of them.
See,
I was like, he's gonna have Tiffany Amber. Oh my God, he's gonna.
Is it? So I have a question for Jonathan. Yeah, is it because it's getting late, or is it because you've been talking to me for an hour that you're getting mean now? Because you're not usually this mean. You're past the 1 hour mark.
I'm usually this mean, Christian. I'm just trying not to as a charity.
Both.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you think I sunk this low? That's Christian Blatt, everybody. I
gotta go read
half the network that Matt Kelly's not hosting. Christian gets the rest.
Oh, and we'll be back with Marvel Movie Talk this Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're going to talk about the Daredevil trailer and What If Season 3, the final season of What If.
This isn't a place for plugs, all right? Unless you want to talk about GeekscapeGives.com.
Hey, can we talk about the song What If by Tommy Shaw from the Remo Williams soundtrack?
Oh, dude, that song's fucking awesome. That video is even better where they're walking around that miniaturized Statue of Liberty.
I want to talk about all of Tommy Shaw's solo albums from the 80s.
Dude,
can we do that?
Tommy Shaw's Girl with Guns is the shit.
Yes! That's what I was thinking of.
Is the shit. And the funny 100%. Thing is, he left his band. It was Starship, right?
Sticks.
No. It was Sticks. My bad. Hey, listen, what did I tell you? A mile wide, inch deep. He left Sticks because they were like, he's like, their stuff is getting too poppy. And then his first single is Girls with Guns, the most clowny, poppy. And I'm like, what the hell? You just didn't like the other dudes in Sticks. Just admit you didn't like the other dudes in Sticks, because this is clownier and poppier than anything else in here.
He hated Dennis DeYoung. It's that simple.
So what you got to do, Zach, is you got to bring Shaw Blades on the show.
No, I want an entire damn Yankees reunion. Can you do a damn Yankees reunion?
He can't take you higher.
I can get you Nugent, but you might not want him.
His breath still smells like squirrel. Good thing we're remote.
I gotta run.
Get out of here.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to see everyone.
Glad you took this opportunity for self-promotion. He didn't know Dustin that well, but he saw a microphone that was open and unused, and he jumped at it.
Well, I
do love Christian Blatt. I love Christian Blatt.
I love Christian too, and I will say, Jonathan, Diallo is the one to thank for all of us being connected, because if it wasn't for Diallo, I wouldn't have met you, and the rest is history, and I wouldn't have met Christian. But Dustin is the voice of 80s Kids Unite, our intro to 80s Kids Unite, and your brother Paul, Diallo, and I and Corey from Podcasting After Dark, and Dustin were called the Night Boys. That was way back when. And anyways, we have an episode dropping this Sunday. We're talking about Stephen J. Cannell shows, and the intro to the show features Dustin's voice and a couple clips from pictures of Dustin. So be sure to check that out. And again, I'm going to play the promo that you cut for us. Will be in the middle of that as well. And thank you for doing that. And if you can put the website up one more time.
And use the WAV file that I put up on the Dropbox, because that one has a better mastering than the MP3 I discovered. I was like, let me tweak it a little more.
And for everyone listening, geekscapegives.com, go to that to support Dustin and Erin. And we don't want to bring Christian back to plug the other 18 shows he does on the network. No, I want to know about this show where they make fun of all the hosts of other shows. What the heck's that all about?
No, I was like, guys, no, you don't.
What's that all about? Yeah,
I don't like it. I know. If I run a network that says "Don't hate, create" as its tagline, I'm the meanest person on this network, and I try and rein it in all the time.
We need more love. We need more love in the world. So.
We do, which is why we're here. Diallo, guys, we were going to see each other at Pasadena Comic-Con, but it got moved for obvious reasons to May.
Hey,
I was looking forward to it.
Dustin just joined in. Just joining in. Cannot thank you guys enough. Well, Dustin, you didn't watch the whole thing, so you're about to find out that it wasn't about you at all.
Idea.
It was self-promotion.
You have no idea.
Dustin, we love you, and I also love that your YouTube icon is Steve Gutenberg. Speaking of heroes of the Southern California fires, like that clip went viral of Steve Gutenberg going out, and he was in Pacific Palisades, and people were just abandoning their cars. And the problem with abandoning your cars and taking the keys with you is that fire department and people evacuating, they have to get through the street, and these cars are just sitting there, and they have to end up getting bulldozed out of the way. We saw like heavy forklifts coming in and moving cars out of the way because people were evacuating, but they were taking their keys with them, and they were just leaving the cars in the middle of PCH.
Insane.
And Steve Gutenberg went viral on the news getting interviewed. He just came in like a vision from the smoke, and he said, everybody take your keys with leave the keys in the cars. If you abandon them, we got to get these people out of here. Steve Gutenberg really proved that he's been a hero ever since he left the police force in the 80s.
Well, and it's really
raised that little girl.
And that, by the way, that's my wife and Dustin's wife, Erin, that are kissing a cutout of Steve Gutenberg. That got lost in the fire, unfortunately, as well.
We can remake that.
I made for Steve. Dustin. Well, I'll make you another one, Dustin. But Gutenberg got quoted as one reporter didn't know who he was. The other one in KTLA said, the star of the movie It Takes Two. And I'm like, where is the love for Police Academy? Where's the love of Cocoon?
Cocoon. And anyways, I would have been like 3 Men and a Baby.
3 Men and a Baby.
Yeah, 3 Men and a Baby.
That was a hit. Got a sequel.
I don't even know what It Takes Two is.
No,
I think it's a Kate and Ashley Olsen movie.
Dude, check this out. Dustin had forgotten that the Gutenberg cutout was gone until you reminded him.
Oh, sorry.
Dude, come on, man. Don't do
Good
that.
job, Zach.
I mean, Diallo, doesn't this track? This tracks, right? This is my MO.
Dustin was like, he was doing so well. Dustin was like, man, Dustin's like, I can't wait to go home and watch the Clippers game. Oh, wait. Until Zach reminded him. Son of a, this was for escape. That's what we do here at Geekscape. It's called Geekscape. It's escapism. We celebrate all these things. And you're over here being like,
Dreamscape is.
He says, I was finally happy.
Yeah.
He said, Dustin said he was finally happy. Oh, shit.
Well, he's like
Zach.
I love this guy.
Zach.
I love Dustin Rubin.
You've heard of a buzzkill. I'm the Zach kill. So,
on that note, everybody. No, I'm kidding. Guys. Okay.
Anyway,
I just love the camaraderie. I love being with you guys, but we probably have to bring it all together. Dustin Rubin's tears have finally stopped, he said, but Zach got them flowing again. Hopefully they're positive tears.
Nothing. It's time for bed. You're supposed to be in bed right now, dude.
Well, so am I. People watching, people listening on the various streams, just a final reminder to go to geekscapegives.com. That'll lead you straight to Dustin and Erin's GoFundMe page that was set up. Donate what you can, share it. If you can't donate anything you can share, please go for it and do that. I was like, I can't wait to start January and start promoting this Geekscape comic we have coming out. And then I was like, nah, man, you shut the hell up about your comic. Let's promote the GoFundMes for Dustin. And again, we have so many friends who've also lost their home. I mentioned Chris Strompoulos from the Raiders remake. My friend David Bohr, who helped me with my comic. He's a comic book writer. He lost his home. And then we had David Henry from Wizards of Waverly Place on Geekscape recently, and I mentioned a girl named Kat, who's a friend of ours. And Kat, sadly, was coming back to the Pacific Palisades for hospice. Kat is only 19 years old, and she was coming home from battling cancer for much of her teen life. And she was finally coming home to her home in Pacific Palisades for hospice, and she came home for a day before having to evacuate. And now the house is gone. It's fucking awful. And there's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
But we have ours. We have Dustin. He's our brother. He's our Geekscape brother. He's our co-hosts. Geekscapegives.com is going to point to where you can help him out. Just keep sharing it and all that. He says, I love you all except Zach for reopening my wounds. About the Gutenberg cutout.
It tracks.
And all that. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'll make this less depressing and show this picture of Dustin with Diane Franklin wearing the jacket.
That's great. That's great. The jacket's now gone.
The
how bad? How much are you going to keep reopening these wounds?
This one I'll give to him, even though it's
send Bodie to the store to get the jacket.
Yeah.
Send your kid back to the store.
I'm making the jacket is safe. The jacket is safe.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan, for doing this. And we will. I'm excited to talk about the comic very soon. And
not going to do it here.
The Comic-Con got moved to May, so that's going to be,
with all this 80s stuff, you don't know anybody with a fucking time traveling DeLorean that can just fix this shit.
I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I only got 2 hands.
All right. Whoever's listening, love you
Chris
guys so
Rydell
much.
Look up Chris Rydell for don't badmouth Chris. You don't even know.
I think he's great, but you waved C. Thomas Howell in my face.
Yeah, well, he's done other podcasts, so.
Okay. All right. Bring me the Howl. Bring me the main Wolverine.
On it.
All right. Bring me the Wolverine.
I don't know who that is.
C. Thomas Howell?
C. Thomas Howell.
From the Amazing Spider-Man?
Chris Rydell.
Yes,
Chris
you know.
I know who.
Stop it, Diallo. He's a guest coming on a Geekscape podcast. Do not besmirch his reputation, please. Just act like you know.
Hey, Dustin wants to go to bed, so I think
he's
we're gonna
great. I loved him in that one. I loved him in that one movie.
Okay, Dustin. Hopefully you're doing well, buddy. I love you. Say hi to Erin. Say hi to your dogs. Say hi to Bodie, who brings in food. What's that? Yeah, and thanks, Zach. Thanks for doing this. Diallo, thanks for doing this. Christian, thank you for doing this.
Yes, Christian, stop doing that podcast where you badmouth people. That's
not nice.
No,
it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not nice.
What's
It's
the
not
book
good
that
karma.
Christian's reading to his kid? Let's
It's called
contemplate
I Hate
what
All.
you think he's reading.
It's called I hate all the other podcasts in the world except for my own.
Damn you, London! I think
It's called Sticks Sucks, but Tommy Shaw rules.
how to destroy friendships and uninfluence people, and how to remove Matt Kelly from the Geekscape network and take his place, so I can have 38 shows.
Now you're Jonathan. I'm rubbing off on you because we're about to say goodbye like 5 times, and every time it keeps going. So
It's fine. It's fine. That's why you guys are gonna have 17 more seasons of
Dustin's
2LAP.
coming
Never
back.
say goodbye. You guys are gonna have to make a new 80s decade to have more fucking content.
we're good.
You guys are like, what about the 1880s? The 1780s. We'll just keep finding 80s until we're in the 2080s, and then you guys will have fresh new content to
80s.
talk about. Once you guys have saturated all of the 1980s, you're just going to keep going through the centuries. I think you should. You're like, let's talk spittoons today on the 1880s podcast. All right. Dustin says, I truly appreciate you all, and let's get out before that appreciation diminishes anymore.
Sounds good.
All right. Geekscapegames.com. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace.